What a game, what a win, what a comeback for UConn as they advanced to the Final Four with a 73-72 win over Duke in a game that truly is unbelievable. Like, this was a game that truly had everything. UConn went down at 19 at one point in this game. It was pretty similar to Michigan State at one point, obviously a little bit further down the line, but really, obviously, the whole thing came together at the very end for the Braylon Mullins three. An absolutely incredible, not only shot, but moment that's going to be not only talked about, but shown for years on end. This shot was one that obviously sent UConn to the Final Four. Braylon Mullins really struggled from three throughout that game. At one point, UConn was like 1 for 18 from three, and I believe they made 4 of the last 5 threes, obviously down the stretch, in order to give UConn a real shot. And Braylon Mullins is going to be a name. He's going to be a face that's going to be remembered for a really long time. And obviously the call is going to be remembered for a really long time. An Eagle was absolutely fantastic. Grant Hill, Bill Raftery, one of the best to ever do, if not the best. They just absolutely worked that moment exactly the way you really wanted it to be done. I thought they did a very, very good job. I thought this game is going to be one of those games that will be talked about for a long time. And it was really not only the shot that obviously is part of the conversation, but for back-to-back years, Duke has blown a game that they absolutely should have won. And I think there should be some conversations about John Shire, if we're being completely honest with you. These are 2 games last year against Houston, this game against UConn, that Duke should not have lost. Now, obviously, this year, if you're talking about this game, obviously you have to talk about Caden Boozer, right? And you have to talk about just kind of the mistake that he made. Obviously, at the time, that was something that now we know was kind of practice, was really talked about. Like a few weeks earlier, Duke showed a very similar situation to that. He was supposed to toss the ball up as high as he could, and it was obviously a mistake. And you want to talk about another situation that was very similar to that? Just go back to that Virginia Furman game a few years ago, right? It was a very similar kind of end result to that, and this was just a game that these guys are going to be remembered for a long time. Even if you're a UConn fan, it's going to be one that you're going to be really happy. Duke, it's one of those games where I truly don't know if you ever get over it, to be completely honest with you. And Caden Boozer, and credit to him, he was asked about this game afterwards, and he was straight up and gave an answer. And he's like, yeah, basically I lost my team this season. And it's really unfortunate because Duke had a really good performance with Cam Boozer. 27 points, 10 for 21. Really the big man matchup in this one I thought was so much fun to watch. It was Cam Boozer and then obviously Terrace Reed Jr. Terrace was absolutely lights out in this game. He was absolutely massive. 26 points, 9 rebounds, 10 for 16 from the field. It was truly him that kept UConn in this game, especially when UConn wasn't shooting the ball very well from three, besides like the last couple of minutes. Caravan really struggled throughout this game. 2 for 10 from the field, 5 points. Demery had 11 points. Obviously, Solo Ball had 10 points. And then obviously you have the guy that makes the game-winning shot, Braylon Mullins, with 10 points. Like he said he thought that shot was for the tie. Like he didn't even know it was for the win. And I truly do think that's one of the most special games we're going to see in the NCAA tournament for a really long time. And it was just not only because of the shot, but because of the comeback. Like, you have to give Dan Hurley a ton of credit. Dan Hurley's teams do not ever give up. They do not ever stop fighting. They do not ever stop playing. They're going to be a team that's going to take you to those 40 minutes. And it doesn't matter until the clock strikes 0. And this was one of those games it didn't matter until the clock struck 0.3 seconds left. And Duke obviously had an opportunity at the end to tip the ball in. Obviously, it wasn't even relatively close, and UConn advances. And it was just an incredible performance all around. I have no idea how UConn end up winning this game, if we're going to be completely honest with you. With the poor shooting that they had throughout the night, they shot 22% from three, 44% from the field. If you look at what Duke did, 40% from three, 52% from the field. If you look at Duke, out-rebounded UConn. There was no reason why Duke shouldn't have won this game. It was because of obviously effort plays, because of the ability to get stops down the stretch, and really because of mistakes that Duke made. Because guess what? If you don't throw that ball, if you get fouled, one, there's no backcourt violation at that point, and two, UConn doesn't really have a chance at that point. You make one, two free throws, game's over at that point. So not only that mistake, but like I said earlier, I think this is going to be a conversation that needs to be had about Jon Scheyer. I think Jon Scheyer is a coach that is really good at recruiting. With that being said, Cam Boozer followed exactly what Jon Scheyer wanted him to do. Now, if the pass got off, if it was never deflected, if UConn never made the shot, would we be talking about the situation? No, absolutely not. People would be talking about, hey, Duke is in the Final Four. They're going up against Illinois. They have a really good chance of going to a national championship. They beat Michigan, which is in the other side. You got Arizona as well. They wouldn't be talking about these certain situations, but because this is back-to-back years where his team has blown leads, where they should be able to win, they should be able to go to not only a national championship, but a Final Four as well. I think Jon Scheyer needs to be talked a little bit about. Obviously, it was a great year for Duke overall, but it wasn't where Duke wants to be. It's not Duke's expectation. Obviously, Jon Scheyer is going to continue to recruit really, really well, but this was a very big missed opportunity, and obviously this Duke team was now 100% healthy. In this one, a guy like Caleb Foster did not play a ton, 14 minutes. He played a little bit. You got Gumba that played 22 minutes. This wasn't a 100% healthy team. This wasn't the team that was against that Michigan team. But at the end of the day, when you're making these mistakes in big moments, in big games in the NCAA tournament, you truly have to wonder, can Jon Scheyer get it done? We know that Dan Hurley can get it done. Dan Hurley has proven it over and over and over again, and he continues to win in the big moments. Really, the only other thing I really want to talk about before I wrap up here is obviously Dan Hurley's reaction to the ref at the end of the game, or with 0.3 seconds, kind of going a little bit like a head bump on him. I thought that was absolutely crazy. I'm surprised he didn't get technical, but Dan Hurley was asked a little bit about that in a podcast. Basically said he's a really good friend. Like, he knows the guy. Like, he has like a good relationship with the guy. Do I think that's a moment that should have probably had a technical call? I think you could argue absolutely. Do I think if that was any other game than in the March tournament, do I think that would be called? Probably at that point, but at the end of the day, right, UConn absolutely deserve this win just because of not only their ability to make plays when need to, but just because of Duke's mistakes and UConn being able to capitalize off of it. But what a game, what an opportunity for UConn now to play Illinois going to a possible national championship under Dan Hurley. Again, shout out to Dan Hurley and this UConn team. They're playing very, very well right now. Tara Street has been a huge part of it. If UConn can shoot better than they did in this game, I think they're going to be a team that will absolutely play well against Illinois. But we'll obviously see when that time comes. Obviously, I will preview that game later on this week. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think UConn deserved to win? Do you think this is an absolutely massive blown opportunity for Duke? Let me know. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. Please feel free to share this with friends, family as well. Try to grow this podcast. But really, really great game. Really great ending. A game that a lot of fans will remember for a long, long time, either happily or might never forget, unfortunately. But thanks for tuning in, and tune in to the next episode.